Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. Now, in a letter to President Droupadi Murmu, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge has accused the central government of initiating the privatization of Sainik schools. He pointed out at RSS grand plan to undermine institution after institution to thrust its ideology. Kharge added that the central government has politicized the armed forces, and in the past, Indian government has kept armed forces away from partisan politics, but the central government has broken this convention. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a rally in Rishikesh today. He slammed this Congress and pointed out that during the Congress's regime, the soldiers lacked basic gears, and it was the BJP that has prioritized the safety of the soldiers and elaborated on the one rank, one pension scheme, where the Modi government has given more than 1 lakh crore rupees to the ex-servicemen. This has led to political war of words between the two political parties over the armed forces ahead of the elections. This leaves us to the question, who is going to win the armed forces' trust and their votes? Let's start our conversation. I'm quickly going to start with Major General G.G. Dwivedi. Good to have you, sir, on the telecast with us. And what is your honest opinion of how the armed forces and soldiers in particular have been treated in the past decades versus the 10 years that have passed by under the BJP rule?
Megha, first and foremost, armed forces must be kept out of political ambit, and there's no dispute about it, no two opinions. Now, I think that in this debate, there are two issues that are on the table. One is about the Sainik schools, are they being politicized? And secondly, were the armed forces better off earlier than now? The first about Sainik schools, because I am myself a product of Sainik school, Amrati Nagar, joined 1962, the first batch. And what I can say is that Sainik schools have done a human service for the nation, because they have become the nurseries of NDA and other academies, pre-commission academies. And today we have 33 Sainik schools which are under the central government, under the MOD, and they are being run and funded by the government. Now, where this misinformation or certain kind of, I would say, disputed statements have been made, is that there are number of schools, Sainik schools, so under the name being run by the private agencies or by the private players. The government wants to standardize these schools, and therefore they have mooted a proposal, and in some cases MOU have been signed that these schools will be run as per the existing Sainik schools which are under the central government. Now that is where it stands, and I just spoke to our principal, my Sainik school Amrati Nagar principal. He also clarified that government has taken this step basically to standardize and not to politicize the Sainik schools, so that they are at the same standard. Yes, they'll be given certain funding, but there'll be a strict scrutiny before they can be called Sainik schools, and therefore it is not an interference per se, but I think it is only to standardize. And second point is, were the armed forces better looked after now and then? Well, I commanded my battalion Siach in 1991. We had a very good clothing, good support. I don't think this should come as an issue, because every government has done its bit for the armed forces, depending upon the situation, the time and economic conditions. So I think there should be no comparison, because every government is patriotic and they do the best for the armed forces, and armed forces belong to the country, and we do best for the country.
Major General Sivaj, with regards to a number of these policies and schemes that have been launched by the government in the last 10 years, and particularly the last 5 years, the Prime Minister was very vehement in his support for Agniveer, the Agnipath scheme, which has been chastised by the opposition. This has also impacted the youth in Himachal Pradesh, several of them that get recruitment in the armed forces. The other one was about the one pension scheme, which was also a point of contention for the opposition leaders. Now, in this regard, is it the opposition or is it the government that is politicizing the armed forces?
Megha, one thing is very clear. As brought out by General Dwivedi, the armed forces is a political, and every government has tried to do whatever best they can do for the armed forces, and armed forces has always looked after the nation. Now, as far as these two issues are concerned, one rank, one pension, and Agniveer scheme. First of all, there is no doubt the present government has given one rank, one pension. This was a demand which was not met of the armed forces for a long time. The basic concept of one rank, one pension is if an individual retire with the same length of service and same rank, should get same pension irrespective when he retired. So there is no denying the fact the present Modi government has brought that, and almost 80% of what of one rank one pension has been implemented. So therefore, that point goes without saying that government has done present government, especially for one rank one pension. Now the second issue comes is Agniveer and this Agnipath scheme which has been brought. See, as far as Subramaniam committee, which was constituted after a Kargil war, had given some recommendation that the average age of the normal soldier is gone to 30 to 33 years, which is slightly on the higher side, should be brought to 25, 26. And also, money was not available for modernization because maximum money was going for revenue, which is your pay and pension. So with that, this Agnipath scheme was brought in. So no denying the fact that it is meeting this requirement. The Indian Army average age will reduce from 32 to 25, 6 in another about 7 to 8 years. Also, you will able to save a lot of money for not giving to the pension because 25% will be only retained, 75% will go back. But I certainly feel that this scheme needs a sort of modification, which this point has been told time and again. I am sure this government is taking care of that.
Okay.
I will only give 2-3 recommendations, which one has brought out earlier also. One, the 25% retention is too less. It should be minimum 50%. Now, this project should be considered as a, you can say, a pilot project, and whatever shortcomings are seen should be able to be made out. The second issue, which is very important, is that first 4 years, the difference between Agniveer and also the regular soldier should not be there. Should the person sacrifice his life for the nation? I will only clarify that in case if Agniveer sacrifices his life, he will not get a family pension, or he will not get, his family will not get a specialized pension, and many other funds which a soldier will get it. So this is a demoralizing impact on the serving soldier. That should be done.
Interesting point, sir. I'm going to come back to you, but let me get in Major Mohammad Ali Shah about the same point that has been raised by Major General A.K. Sivach. He's spoken about Agnipath. He's spoken about the Agniveers. Do you feel this scheme has a potential to be improved as the government takes more interest in what are the lacunae that need to be filled?
That's a very good question, Megha. Megha, yes, what you are saying is right, and I totally concur with my seniors, the general officers over here, about the Sainik school and about Agniveer, about OP, whatever they spoke. I think they made complete sense, completely, and I was listening very attentively to them, in fact. So, Megha, the very fact is about Agniveer. I am a short service officer. I served for 5 years in the army, and I came with a clear intention of only serving 5 years. Well, I would be one of the few ex-army officers who are actually in support of the Agniveer scheme. I don't know many ex-officers who support the Agniveer scheme, be it short service officers, be it veteran officers who are generals. I mean, people have their reservations, but maybe because I haven't done junior command or higher command or substantively the NDC, the National Defence College, and many other courses. So maybe with my limited age and experience, I perceive it as a good scheme. That's what I perceive it as. Now, having spoken about Agniveer, I think it has certain aspects which can be tweaked by the government, and I have a feeling it is going to be tweaked, in fact. Because
so what are the reasons for you as a short commissioned officer to be in favor of Agniveer?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for asking that. I feel an army officer always wins. There was an ad for the army. Join the army for a few years and be a winner for life. And I totally believe in that. I strongly agree to that. So you talk about tour of duty in countries like Israel, in America. In Israel, it is compulsory military service for everyone. So their military strength, their might, their discipline is very much in order. I strongly feel that as Indians, we are very good. Our country strongly needs a dose of discipline. And we are not even making it compulsory for everyone. We are saying 4 years, join the army, come as a soldier, and an army personnel, be it an officer, be it a Jawan, be it a JCO, in any field, he is equipped, he is prepared to face life, to face any challenge for the rest of his life.
Okay.
So you named in the field of not just security, but also hospitality, management.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. You get the discipline, you get charge, take charge of your life, and of course, with the kind of impetus that is put on a number of personal matters in your life, it gives you that vigor. It gives you obviously the greater capacity to deal on with life's challenges. Rather the tough regimen that you follow in the army or in the armed forces prepares you better for the bigger other life challenges in your life. All right, I also have in the Group Captain Vienja, and another aspect that I want to touch upon is the infrastructure development that has taken place, particularly aiming at the Indian Armed Forces. Because when we take a look at the aggression that is being seen along the line of actual control particularly, which has then pushed the government to have the political will and ensure that there are funds that are being invested into providing proper infrastructure that will make the lives of our soldiers easier. And therefore, we have been able to stand strongly against our enemies, particularly the PLA troops, in a position that we were not at maybe a few years ago.
Absolutely, Megha. Look, the infrastructure requirement has been long overdue. It should have started immediately after 1962, all along the LAC, no later. But then, the government of those days, they had some reason, they had apprehension, and in their own wisdom, they had not undertaken the upgradations of the infrastructure for the reason that possibly Mr. Anthony had spoken in the parliament. If those were the suspicions, I think that was very detrimental sort of oration in the parliament against the soldiers. Look, Indian Armed Forces, Indian Army is second to none in the world today. And then suspecting that the Chinese troops will get into the infrastructure, then roads and march to Delhi is absolutely detrimental. But again, I'll not go into the politics of this. Why, Mr. Kharge has written this letter, all this has come there. I don't touch on to this. But I must tell you, the long overdue action of the infrastructure, this was mandated very early. Megha, I had written one article when I was collecting all the data on the number of the intrusion into the Indian territories during the 2000s. I had collected the data from 2001 onward. There was not a single year when there was less than about 500 official intrusion. Mind you, those days, there was no infrastructure, there was no picket of Indian Army to notice each and every incursions of the Chinese. But yet there was minimum was 500 incursions. That means officially, if someone was to know that yes, exactly it has happened, it will go into about 2,000 plus incursions that every year that it's to happen. And then Indian Armed Forces, Ministry of Defense, they all kept quiet because there was a government pressure not to speak about it. And that is how everything was unfolding. I'm grateful to Mr. Manmohan Singh that at least during the end of his tenure in the 2013-2014, he had initiated at least some of the actions. And we are grateful to Mr. Narendra Modi, who had made it as a impact project, impact area, key area that we call it, this KRA of the infrastructure development all along the border. Especially LOC already had all these structures. LAC had to have it, and I'm grateful that he has have it. he had it. And I'm again grateful to Mr. Narendra Modi, our PM, our defense minister, our army echelon. All of them have been thinking, doubly now on the all aspects of possibilities of having infrastructure close to the border, wherein the assistance of the supplements could be reached within no time at all. And in that perspective, the recent opening of the tunnel in Sela, that is one area, and similar things you see in the Ladakh also. We have had different tunnels made it there into the either Pakistani base or into the Chinese territories or those Aksai Chin areas. All this we have had. But then, is that sufficient? I'm not sure. Yes, there is one more thing that is happening, that in today's combat, there is an integrated force which has to fight. And the example of that was the Mountain Strike Force, which was raised in 2018. And one of the component was the air component. And within 4 hours, it is supposed to lift off the entire, combat troops to an area where they can sustain, they can fight, they can command. If those things have to happen, then one single airport, one single airstrip in Leh is not sufficient, or the choice is not sufficient. There it comes that the multiplying of the roads, using the roads for the dual purpose, that is what is coming through. And I compliment the entire hierarchy of the armed forces plus Ministry of Defense plus the agency which is making the border roads. They are all thinking on terms of it, that even in the, I'll just take another 20 seconds, even in the forward area where there's a small strip of the runway, even those have been done up where short landing and takeoff aircraft can provide you the assistance in the time of emergency. Megha.
Okay, all right. General Dwivedi, coming back to you and talking about procuring defense equipment, procuring arms and armaments, and we have to give it to the government of India about the Scorpions that we have purchased, about a number of submarines that at this point of time are on various stages of construction in our country. We're talking about the Rafale deals that has been the highlight of the Modi government in the last 10 years. Can a comparison be drawn in the past from the previous governments? And has that given a massive morale boost to our armed forces? Not to mention the theaterization of the armed forces, talking about the Chief of Defence Staff, which was a position that was created in the last 5 years.
Well, Megha, before I come to your point, very 2 quick points you had raised earlier. One is the Agnipath scheme. I have written 3 articles, opposed it. I think the scheme is flawed, needs serious review, because I belong to Punjab villages only. And today, it's not the first choice to join armed forces. The first choice is the paramilitary forces, because they give you stable career. You can serve up to 58. The best of the men are not coming to the armed forces, and this needs a serious review. And secondly, the Chinese aggression. Well, I served as a defense station in China for 3 years. I was on LAC deployed for 4 times. I think the whole game has changed after Xi Jinping came. Well, incursions are now gone past. They came in for aggression. And today, our 50,000 troops are facing each other, totally 1 lakh. And the whole game is different today. And we have no choice but to go hammer and tong to increase our infrastructure, because all the treaties signed from 1933, 696, 2005, 7 and 13 are on the dustbin. Now, coming to your point on the equipment, armament, I think this government has done definitely a great job, because we were 70% dependent on the import equipment that have come to 50%. Make in India, self-reliance are 2 important pillars, and I think a lot is being done, but I think we need to pay attention to 3 important aspects. First and foremost, we must have a very clear national security strategy, which is not in place. Even today, the role of Chief of Defence Staff is not defined, because he is only an advisor. He is not going to be commanding any troops. What's going to happen in theater commands when all the resources are under one commander? Who is going to command? I think we need to address the national security strategy and then the structure. Second is ecosystem. We need to create the ecosystem, because private industry has to come into a big way if we have to be self-reliant. And third important factor is that we need to get the technology in and we need to tie up, have MOUs so that we don't reinvent the wheel. Can you imagine? We still don't have the capability to manufacture an assault rifle. We have to get the TOT from Russia, and I think we are at that level. One, we are trying to manufacture combat aircraft. Other side, we are still not being able to manufacture assault rifle. I think we need to bridge the gap. Effort is on, but need more synergy, direction, and vision. Thank you.
Major Ali Shah, talking about boosting the morale of the armed forces in our country, have we moved further away from the defensive attitude of the government and thereby reflective on the armed forces versus today when we take on the enemy heads on, and not just take on the enemy, but when there is a strike that happens on our civilians or our soldiers, we are not waiting for action to take place. We take the surgical strikes and we bring down the perpetrators.
Right, Megha. See, as General Dwivedi earlier had mentioned that, armed forces should be always kept out of politics irrespective, however, because armed forces are not affiliated to any political party. They take orders from the government of the day. So today, there's going to be one political party which will form the government. Tomorrow, it will be some other political party which they'll form the government of India. Now, having said that, let me tell you my personal experience. In the year, exactly 20 years back, in the year 2003, in fact, 21 years back, I was at the line of control, the 30 meters away from the Pakistani post. And every day, there used to be shelling. Every day, there was firing. And as a young officer, in fact, General Sivaj would agree with me, Commander Brigade in Machal sector. So he knows, and General Dwivedi also, he has commanded troops over there, so they would know exactly what I'm talking about. So when they used to be firing upon us, we couldn't really retaliate, Megha. We had orders that their ammunition, their time, their effort, their energy, let them do what they have to. So we couldn't really retaliate much. But in today's day and age, that's not possible. The enemy thinks 10 times before firing across, because they know Indian Army will not keep quiet. They will give them a solid reply. And surgical strike, which we saw in 2016, it was not a new phenomenon actually. We have had surgical strikes earlier. We used to call it trans-border raids. We had done it earlier. It came into light in 2016, yes, no doubt. But the very fact is we have showed the enemy, if you mess with us, you better not mess with us. Because if you mess with us, we will enter your house and we'll hit you where it hurts the most. So the very fact, most certainly the morale of the troops, most certainly I would say it has gone up by our Prime Minister spending Diwali with the troops on the borders. Every Diwali is spent. So it certainly gives, I'll quickly tell you a small anecdote and I will conclude over here. Again in 2003, I was telling you about when I was at the border, one of the soldiers was wounded, in fact. And when he was wounded, the commanding officer came on the post, at the forward post, to examine the soldier who was wounded. And the soldier who was wounded very, very badly, didn't have any energy, got up, he sprung out of his stretcher, saluted the commanding officer and said, Jai Hind Sahab. Now that was the morale of the soldier because the leadership came from top, the commanding officer came. Similarly, when the Prime Minister goes to the borders and meets the troops, their morale automatically goes up.
Right, absolutely. Group Captain Jha, quickly then one response. When we talk about not mixing armed forces with politics, and we have seen perhaps not too many examples, with General V.K. Singh, who was part of active politics. He's not been given the ticket this time around, but he has been winning from Uttarakhand for several terms. In fact, he has taken the charge in the past. Similarly, very recently, this is a recent phenomenon that we saw the former IAF Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhaduria himself getting inducted into the BJP. How do you view this?
No, look, Megha, we are all individuals as long as we are in the armed forces, whichever services we are in there. We are part and parcel of the armed forces without any religion, without any affiliations. We have got one ethos, and that is the nation. Nation first, and that is where we are working there. The day we have donned off our uniform, Thereafter, what I do is my perspective. Other than that, 2 years of the mandatory, services of being recalled, leave that apart. Then we are individuals. We can have affiliations with any other party. If you see VK Singh, he was not given the charge of the armed forces. He was kept into some other directorate. So that is one where even our planners of the policies, politicians, they avoid inducting the similar people into the similar branches.
Okay.
Example, armed forces one, even the Harshvardhan was taken out from the health ministry. There are numerous such instances where the compatible people
It's
were
interesting
not
to
kept
know
in the
because
same.
there could be an opposing view that who better than Army General as the Chief of Army Staff, or a Chief of Navy Staff, or the Air Staff to better understand the nitty-gritties of the armed forces, what is required, what isn't, what's the ground situation, and so on and so forth.
There are two generals here with me. They will all agree that when you were in the services, you will have some of your compatriots who were not in agreement with your thought process. And if you become their bosses on any day, there will be resentment. Whether they express it or not, there will be resentment. That is the last thing that you will decide in the services.
Okay.
That is how it is going on.
Okay. General Sivaj, quickly a response from you as well. How do you view, in generality, the situation of our armed forces? I've already given you so many examples, whether it is about the building of infrastructure, roads, giving pension to our ex-servicemen. We're talking about short commission services. We're talking about Agniveers and Agnipath. We're talking about Make in India defense initiatives, procurement of more arms and ammunition and armament, and talking about the Prime Minister and the political will that is putting their weight behind for our armed forces to work to defend our country, to defend our territory. How have things improved for the better in the last 10 years?
Of course, Megha, no doubt. Tremendously it has improved, especially on line of actual control. I've been a chief of staff in 14 Corps Leh Ladakh. After 2014, the type of infrastructure which I built from Ladakh to Arunachal Pradesh is praiseworthy. As on today, there are roads, there are bridges, there are tunnels, there are logistic depots very close to line of actual control. Now, especially in Arunachal Pradesh, where we always thought, as it was brought out, that there were roads not built till the line of actual control. Today, these villages are not the last villages. These are considered as a first village. So therefore, there is no doubt we are better prepared, better trained, better motivated. Today, we have the best of the weapon and equipment. Our policy of Make in India, make for the world is paying off. 70% of weapon equipment, we used to take it from Russia, and we were only able to manufacture 10 to 20. Today, we are manufacturing almost 50 to 60% weapons ourselves. And not only that we are making for ourselves, we are also exporting. Philippines, we have given a BrahMos missile, we have given to Vietnam, we have given to Indonesia. The Tejas Mark 1 Alpha is being taken by South Africa, Argentina. So I can say with a lot of certainty that there is a lot of improvement which has taken place in last 10 years. And today we are feeling much stronger. And today, as far as the China is concerned, the China is feeling the heat. The China feels it that today India is far better prepared and far more motivated than it was 10 to 15 years back.
Right.
And
absolutely.
just make a one point.
Absolutely.
One
Quickly,
quick
I'm
point.
sorry, I'm out of time. I'll have to complete my discussion with you right here. I have to conclude it, but I thank all of you for sharing your views, airing your views on this very sensitive, important matter. On that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.